Have you ever cried during a movie and then caught yourself thinking, wait, this isn't even real? That confusion, that split second where your body reacts before your logic catches up, isn't a flaw. It's one of the most fascinating quirks of the human brain. Because when a character on screen cries, some part of your nervous system genuinely can't tell the difference between their grief and your own. Today, we are going deep into why your brain does this and whether that's actually a good thing. Let's start with something you've probably felt but never really examined. That tight feeling in your throat during an emotional scene. The way your heart rate quickens during a tense chase. These aren't just metaphors we use to describe watching a good film. They're measurable, physical responses happening in real time, triggered by something that isn't even physically present in the room with you. The leading explanation for this involves what scientists call mirror neurons, brain cells that activate both when we perform an action ourselves and when we simply observe someone else performing it. Some researchers describe this as the brain building a kind of internal simulation, essentially rehearsing what it's witnessing as if it were happening to you directly. Ala, what? It's worth saying the exact role of mirror neurons in human emotion is still debated in neuroscience, and not every claim about them holds up under closer study. But the broader pattern that watching someone else's emotional state triggers a genuine echo in your own body is well supported by decades of psychological research, even if the precise mechanism is still being worked out. So why would evolution build us this way in the first place? The answer likely traces back long before movies, before television, before anything resembling modern entertainment existed. Think about early human tribes, small groups moving through unpredictable environments, facing threats that could appear without warning. In that world, being able to instantly read another person's fear without them saying a single word could be the difference between survival and disaster. If someone in your group suddenly froze, eyes wide, breath caught, you didn't have time to ask what's wrong. You needed your body to respond immediately, as if you'd seen the danger yourself. This is likely why our brains evolved to prioritize facial expressions and emotional cues over almost any other kind of information. A frightened face isn't just data, it's an instruction. Run, hide, pay attention. Emotional mimicry, in this context, wasn't a bug in human psychology. It was one of our most important survival tools, allowing information about danger or opportunity, like a sudden discovery of food, to spread through a group faster than language ever could. Now fast forward tens of thousands of years, and that same hardwiring is still fully intact, sitting inside every person watching a screen today. Except now, instead of scanning the tree line with your tribe, you're sitting on a couch, and the emotional signals firing your ancient alarm system are coming from actors carefully directed, lit, and edited to trigger exactly this response. This brings us to something directors and cinematographers understand extremely well, even if most audiences never think about it consciously. The close-up shot. When a camera moves in tight on someone's face, it isn't just a stylistic choice. It's exploiting the exact same social wiring your ancestors relied on to read danger from a few feet away. A close-up essentially simulates the intimate physical distance of another human being right in front of you, which pulls your ancient threat detection and empathy systems online, whether you want them to activate or not. Frame rate and pacing matter too. Slower, lingering shots during emotional moments give your mirror neuron system time to fully sync with what it's seeing. Rapid cuts during action sequences spike arousal and urgency. Directors are, in a very real sense, composing a rhythm, and your nervous system often ends up following that rhythm rather than setting its own. There's a concept in psychology called neural coupling, the idea that when someone tells a story effectively, the listener's brain activity can begin to closely mirror patterns in the storyteller's brain, almost like their internal experiences are becoming temporarily aligned. Some studies using brain imaging during storytelling have found meaningful overlap in activity between a speaker and their audience. And while the language of brains beating in perfect unison is a simplification, the underlying finding that a compelling narrative can synchronize emotional and physiological states across a room full of separate nervous systems is genuinely well documented. Music and lighting play their own quiet role in this process too. A rising musical score isn't just decoration, it's often functioning almost like an external pacemaker, subtly guiding your heart rate and breathing to match the emotional intensity building on screen. Lighting shifts, a sudden darkening, a flash of red, a cold blue tone during isolation, these aren't just visual choices. They're calibrated signals designed to nudge your nervous system in a specific emotional direction, often before you've consciously registered why you're starting to feel uneasy or moved. Now let's bring this into the present moment. Because the landscape of digital media has changed dramatically. We are now dealing with hyper-realistic digital avatars, AI-generated faces, and increasingly lifelike synthetic performances that are becoming difficult to distinguish from real human actors. As this technology becomes more advanced and more common, it raises a genuinely important question. Does your brain's ancient empathy system care whether the face triggering it is human or synthetic? Early research into how people respond to highly realistic digital humans suggests the answer may be not as much as we'd like to think. Your mirror neuron system and the broader emotional recognition network in your brain appears to respond largely to the pattern of the expression itself, the shape of the eyes, the tension in the mouth, the timing of a reaction, rather than requiring conscious confirmation that a real person exists behind it. In high stress or emotionally intense scenes, this becomes even more pronounced. Your body doesn't have time to run a background check on authenticity before reacting. This creates something worth paying attention to, a kind of mental fatigue that many people experience without being able to name it. If your empathy system is constantly firing in response to synthetic or unfamiliar emotional stimuli, hour after hour, day after day, across endless content, that's genuine neurological labor being performed, even though none of these are people you actually know or have real relationships with. Some researchers studying digital media consumption have started referring to this as a form of emotional overextension, your empathy circuitry working overtime for strangers, real and artificial alike, leaving less energy available for the actual relationships in your life. So, does understanding all of this mean you should stop watching movies, stop engaging with digital stories altogether? Not at all. But it does open the door to something valuable: conscious viewing, understanding what's happening inside your body while you're absorbing content rather than being entirely swept along by it without awareness. Here are a few practical things that can help. When you notice your heart racing during an intense scene or a wave of heaviness during something sad, try pausing for just a moment to consciously name what's happening. Something like, my nervous system is responding to a story right now. This isn't a threat to me directly. This simple act of naming engages your prefrontal cortex, the more logical, reflective part of your brain, and can help downshift the intensity of the automatic response without shutting off your ability to feel it. Grounding techniques help too. Adungu. Something as simple as noticing three physical things around you: the texture of the couch, the temperature of the room, the weight of your own feet on the floor, can help remind your nervous system that you're safe, present, and not actually inside the story you're watching. It's also worth being intentional about volume, not just how much you watch, but how emotionally intense your content diet is on any given day. If you've been doom scrolling through heavy, distressing content for hours, followed immediately by an emotionally intense show or film, your empathy system may already be running on fumes, and that combination can leave you feeling far more drained than either one alone would. Ultimately, what all of this reveals is something quite remarkable about being human: your capacity to feel someone else's joy or grief, even when that someone is fictional, animated, or entirely synthetic, is not a weakness or a glitch. It's one of the most sophisticated tools your brain has ever developed, a survival mechanism thousands of generations in the making, still firing exactly as it was designed to, just in a world it was never built to anticipate. Understanding that doesn't mean shutting the system down. It means learning to work with it consciously so that instead of being swept along by every flicker on a screen, you become someone who understands exactly why they're feeling what they're feeling and can choose deliberately how deeply to let it in.